Hello, everyone. Welcome to This Week in Tyranny. Welcome. I am your host, Conrad Rogas. Today it's Sunday. What day is it even? It's the last week of April. It's around noon. I don't even know what day it is. It's episode 125. I know that. And we're going to have an episode that's way more emotional, psychological, way more than the physical, right? It's going to be a lot more art than science. And that's because I'm in a bad mood in general. I'm tired. I've been feeling frustrated and bitter. As far as my show goes, I had really three options with what to do this week. Option one, I could just not do a show, which is funny, but it was considered, honestly. Option two, I could do a show where I could just turn my frustration into content, uh, turn my microphone up, not do any post editing, and just kind of run wild, kind of take the barriers off and just do one of those shows where I go all out. Or option three, I could pretend everything's all good, I could suppress my emotions and just do the show like I usually do and just go straight through it and bang another one out. I'm not going to do that. You may already know that since I got the microphone turned up. I know it's loud. I hope it's not too loud. So I'm going to do option two. I'm going to let out some therapeutic venom. Okay, I'm going to just kind of let it out because I actually think that when you're sliding and you're making some bad decisions, you're not treating people well or they're not treating you well. I personally think it's better to let it blow up quick, like burn those bridges rather than being a watcher and a spectator and just standing there as the bridges deteriorate and break down anyway. So this is a bridge burning episode, okay? This is what it is. It's a controlled demolition. We're going to do the demolition derby of non-mainstream objective news. And it doesn't mean I've changed. It doesn't mean I've given up on the world. It doesn't mean I've lost hope or my desire to change the world or do any of these things. Like, it's still very important to me to secure a free and fulfilling world for ourselves and our children. That doesn't change just because I get pissed off, right? I'm only sharing my current perspective that reflects my current state and mood. And it's not, I think it's valuable. I don't think that's just like a thing that happens and it has no value and it blows over. I think everything that happens is like has a point. It has a reason. It should have a reason for us, or at least there's the opportunity for us to pull meanings and lessons and reasons out of things, right? The worst thing is just to do stupid shit and not learn anything from it. So if you're gonna do some stupid shit, you might as well learn from it, because everybody has bad days, everybody has a bad week, and me being somebody who advocates for the heroic path in life, well, especially then, I gotta wear that. I gotta accept that because the hero's journey doesn't stop just because you're in a bad mood, right? It's just like being a parent. Like, you don't just say, hey, can you tell your child, just hold on with the crying, just give me, I need a break. Mommy needs a break. No, it doesn't work like that. So I'm at the same time in that mood. I am, and experiencing it and feeling it, but at the same time I can see outside of myself and into the future. Like, I know it's just going to be business as usual. So I'm going to limit the amount of damage that I do to my environment by doing this in a controlled area, okay? I'm not going to put things off. I'm not going to suppress them until it blows over. I've already kind of done that a bit. But hey, can't go back in time. All I can do is do better than last time. So, and I've no, like, this isn't a new thing that I'm learning now. I've learned this before. I used to do a bunch of drugs, as you guys know. I sold all of them, and anything I've ever sold, I've taken. So short of a very select few, I've had it all. So I've been sober for like 4.5 years, still am, and I know what it's like to have relapses. Like, I've had plenty of relapses, and in my experience, they rarely follow like a neat, orderly plot. It's not like a Hollywood story. They just kind of happen. They fucking happen. Whether they happen to us or we make them happen, it's only a matter of perspective anyway. But they happen, and the point is, the only thing that makes sense is eventually they get less and less intense. Your blow-ups and your slides, they get less intense and they get further apart in frequency. And through your effort, you just keep trying until one of your relapses is the last, and then the next one just doesn't come. So that's what I'm working towards when it comes to not drug addiction now, because I've already beat that, but my physical, mental, emotional condition in general. This is something we're all dealing with. So it's not just about me, but I've done a 5 minute intro now to tell you that this is about you. Um, I'm only showing my example because that's the only person I have the authority to talk about. Really, I can't tell you what to do in life, but I can tell you that when shit's kind of hitting the fan, um, yeah, that's that what they call it, a teachable moment. Yeah, that's a teaching moment. But I'm a teacher and a student, of course, and I'm not running from that. And I ain't preaching anybody, but I know what to do at least. I got the blueprint, so I'm gonna share that with you. Now, as far as what I do, my daily life, I'm a high performer. I've turned into a high performer. I do a weekly show. I maintain a public presence. I talked with people who are relying on me to be me. I hold myself to high standards for both my content value and my journalistic accuracy, but also my character and image, right? So this is what I got to do. As my day job, I do about 55 hours a week as a project leader, as a general contractor for a general contractor. Then last weekend I did a 6-hour studio session and I recorded 4 songs and a solo verse. And on top of that is the private life. Okay, so that actually sounds like an impressive resume, but of course I'm far from perfect. I'm very flawed, and actually I'm kind of rough around the edges, which I imagine people can already tell and sense. So this show, we're still gonna talk about the news, but it's all about showing that you can become a better version of yourself, and you can push yourself way further than you thought possible. And when you push yourself too far, sometimes it happens. That's okay. Um, you can acknowledge your shortcomings. The thing that sucks is it kind of blows up on everybody around you. So um, that's an unfortunate part of it. Of course, the goal is to limit that. But you gotta acknowledge your shortcomings anyway, and that's what I've done this week, okay? I've been fucking up a bit. My work interactions, my personal relationships, down to my eating habits, my time management, I've been just fucking up. But one place I will not be fucking up is the Sound Path to Freedom Music Festival. We're gonna have a great time there, trust me, okay? I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna do a set, we're gonna party, we're gonna have a good time. I'm gonna play all solo music. I'm gonna perform them live, and I'm not the only one. Okay, we've got a set of artists, but you check for yourself who's going to be there. Okay, we've got a mix of vocalists, of songwriters, DJs, people who have made their lifelong work to convey their view of music. It's all freedom oriented people, and it's soundpath.org is the website. Soundpath to Freedom is the YouTube channel. On YouTube, I will be releasing a video there that I did about KRS-One. We've got an artist spotlight. Hopefully, we can get KRS-One to headline this music festival. But if not, that's quite all right. We're gonna hold it down. Okay, everybody is putting a bit of themselves into it, and those are the most worthwhile and rewarding endeavors when everybody gives a part of themselves, and it becomes a thing that is greater than the sum of its parts. So with that very inspirational talking myself off the ledge there, we're going to get right into the news, which I put this rough outline together last night, but it's already changed because overnight it came out that at least 9 people are dead when a car hit a crowd of people that were outside at a festival, at a gathering in the street in Vancouver, Canada. And this was a festival that was a Filipino holiday. Okay, so it's not just, to my knowledge, Filipino people who were affected, but really most of what I know about this event is from a video that I've actually seen. So I've seen, they say at least 9. I don't know if that's changed by now, but it looked like there were at least 9 people. There are clearly multiple people. It was horrific actually to watch it, and I was already in a bad mood, but this was pretty horrific to watch. yeah, and just carnage and chaos, children, as well, women, an attack like that, and that's all that is really known at this point. So, what else can we say about that? Well, so the season of sacrifice I've talked about, and it's known that during the springtime, so much of these mass casualty events, I hate the euphemism mass casualty event, these massacres, these murders happen, right? And that there is this pattern that these events happen between the beginning of spring, March 21st, and May 1st, Beltane, these occult holidays. But here, we don't actually know what this is, but we know that people are losing their minds. Um, maybe that's not. It's not that people, but there's just so much craziness in the world, like so much mental, um, so much violence, so much abuse, and so many people lose it. And people do this to each other. They just do. So what I'm saying is, it doesn't require anything occult. It doesn't require anything coordinated. But when it comes to something like this, we never used to ever hear about a car fucking ramming their way through a crowd. Just like we never used to fucking hear about school shootings. That wasn't a thing. That was not a thing that happened. Until once it happens, and then it happens all the time. Uh, and that's what has happened. And in those cases, you blame the first. You look at the first shot that was fired. Because after that happens, you look at all the school shootings that have happened. I can't tell you for sure that all of them have been coordinated events. I don't know. But I know the first one was for sure. I know the big ones, they were. And there's so much information about that, you can't miss it. And that's the thing that happens. You have these demonic events that are just massive destructions of innocent life, just pure chaos. This can only come from a place of pure hatred and loathing of humanity, okay? Which is, of course, going to have to come from a loathing of self. That happens, and then it happens again and again and again. So I'm not gonna spend my time on even the symbolism, but not that I would even know, because there's nothing that just jumps off the page for me. It's just what happens is our lives are getting destroyed by these events. It takes so long to have a child, to form a relationship and raise a child and to grow up and all of the experiences and everything, and then in a second it's gone. Um, that's the world we live in. It's because people don't value themselves. We're living in a slavery system in general. We're we're living like chickens in a cage, and then so easily, so a couple chickens can get taken out and get their head cut off, and because we don't actually control the conditions that we're living in, as far as our actual living conditions, what type of society, what type of government, all this stuff, we don't really have big purchasing power. We don't have influence. We don't have the patience to leverage our influence. So we're at the mercy of the people that are the chicken farmers. Okay, the people, the rich, the powerful, and really, even without the rich and powerful, we're still at the mercy of the mob. Just dumb people. Dumb people make things dangerous for the rest of them. Imagine like a construction site where everybody is operating this heavy machinery. Everybody's on the same page, and one person does something crazy, they'll kill everybody. They'll blow up everybody. That's the price of ignorance and stupidity in the world. Um, and that's the danger of nurturing and developing self-loathing. Like one self-loathing person can destroy 100, a peaceful community. And that's all I'm gonna say about this, because those are my first reactions. It pisses me off that this shit happens, and I don't know who to point the fingers at other than the person that did that. But I'm still gonna point the fingers at the fucking ruling classes, the satanic fucks in government, and all these people. We all know that they're trafficking children. We all know these fucking people that put the masks on, and the Bill Gateses and all these fucking guys who get on TV and they talk shit. And that includes Donald Trump and all of them. That includes everybody who knew Jeffrey Epstein, all the fucking people that get together and go to these parties. Um, yeah, I can point the finger at them. And I do. Now, back into what we plan to talk about with the news. We've got the economy, both US and global. We've got immigration. Those are pretty standard ones, right? That's like week in and week out. Now, what's not so standard is the death of Virginia Giuffre. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Virginia Roberts Giuffre, Giuffre. We're going to close with that. And then in the middle, I got two small stories I'm going to throw in because I want to talk about it. Now, we're going to start with the economy and tariffs. And as the speculation goes on with the tariffs, what's going to happen with them, what's going to happen with the negotiations, this goes on. But in the past week, a development that has gone on is the word uncertainty is becoming common vernacular. So everybody's talking about the uncertainty in the world that due to the United States tariffs and the attitude of Donald Trump's administration towards the global economy in general. So it's uncertainty versus the inertia that really capitalism is founded on, that our current economy is based on. It's based on an inertia, an expectation that things are going to run steady. It's very important that things run steady. Now, I always take it back to relationships, which is ironic because, yeah, I could fuck up in relationships, you know, um, and that goes to work relationships and personal relationships. Like I'm not just talking about like a partner, right? I'm just talking about people that you interact with every day, people that you count on. Inertia is very important. That they're stable, that they're dependable. Okay, that they're not like this. Okay, can't be having a roller coaster out here. But that is exactly what has happened due to these, not only the tariffs, but in the whole approach of the Trump administration to the global economy. Is this? It's a fucking roller coaster, and you can't trust somebody like that. The economy is based on confidence. Confidence that things are going to run as expected. And that's just like relationships that are based on trust and communication. So, the degree of trust that you have in a given set of conventions. Whatever the rules are, you trust that the other person is going to follow those rules. That's what civilization is based on. An evolved human civilization is going to be when you can leave your door open, you could leave your door unlocked, you could leave your children with a stranger, you don't have to sign contracts because you already know the people are going to do what they say they're going to do. Nobody would have to have body cams, right? That is going to be an evolved civilization. The closer you are to that level of trust and morality, the richer and more intelligent and healthier that civilization may be. So, the thought I'm having is, well, we see so much more illness. The life expectancy even started to drop, right? We know that people are just sicker in general. We have all these crazy events happening. Well, doesn't it just make sense that the more that there's distrust, the more that there is fear, uncertainty, we're going to start being more poor, kind of a return to feudal times, right? The end of prosperous America. You know, the whole "Make America Great Again" thing is a red herring because it would be great to make it great again, but that's not the direction we're going in, is it? You know, it's like saying you're gonna do one thing, but you're actually fucking up. You know. So it's the point with the uncertainty, though. And I saw a great documentary. I really should have the name. I want to give credit to who did it. I hear they talked to Louis Rossman. He's awesome. But there was this documentary where they talked to all these CEOs, and they're saying, Hey, like it doesn't even matter if it's 200% tariffs. 200% tariffs, they could handle that. They could bite the bullet. That's not the real unforgivable action here. It's the lack of consistency and the lack of proper communication, right? Social media post, then it gets taken down, then you say just kidding, that people cannot act like this. But this is exactly what is coming from the office of the president, and it's not an accident. It's nothing. It's nothing. I don't take this personally. I just feel like everything that used to be strong and dependable in the world is now being mocked. It's being made, making a joke of it. Even the women going up into space. Not that I care about the astronauts. I never thought the astronauts were so impressive. I never grew up wanting to be an astronaut. But there's a big difference between the guy who there was some kind of like respectability, some kind of decorum, some type of class and character about somebody, going up there, and he spends his whole life doing that, and he may be a phony and a drunk and a total buffoon, but at least that was the image. And now it's just, pop stars can go up there, a bunch of women. Not that the women can't do that, but you know what it looks like. It's just, it looks like we're making a joke of things, and it's not just there, it's everywhere. So uncertainty is going to bring everything down. Everybody knows that society is crippled when there's no faith, that the society is still going to stand tomorrow. So if you've got a scenario where you're worried about your neighbor, you're not going to build anything, you're not going to do anything long term. Everything's just going to be short term. Everybody's just going to be huddling up thinking about food and thinking about safety. So that is my take on the economy. Now, bouncing off of that theme of uncertainty, oh, we're going to do this for now. We're going to do this for now, but who knows what we're going to do tomorrow? Oh, we'll see. We'll see how they act, right? Well, that's what happened with canceling student visas. A lot of students that have student visas here, they're here legally. They've been having their visas revoked, and they've been threatened to have their visas revoked, which is really the bigger point. It's not how many it's actually happened to, it's that it's being leveraged as a tactic to suppress speech, because mostly the students that this has happened to have been the students that are anti-Israel, and that means they were anti-genocide. Look, nobody's talking about Jewish people. These pro-Palestinian protesters, they're not for terrorism. They're just against genocide, and the genocide in Israel has been well documented. And I don't really, I don't really need to talk about it too much, because it's not my job to convince a lot of these people. If you're not convinced by now, then you're probably not going to be convinced unless you just walk through the streets and see it. I feel like that's what they need to do. Sometimes I wonder if these people are watching the videos that are coming out of the Gaza Strip, and maybe they are. And the people that are, and they see the carnage and they still justify it, they still have to explain that. I don't need to talk to you. You're not, for me. You do your thing. Just don't get in my way. I'm talking to the people that are in touch with reality. Um, Now, but of course, this is nothing surprising. I called this happening. I talked about when I just came to this country and I saw how the conservatives were acting about Muslims after 9/11. I saw the Patriot Act stuff developing, and I saw that whole fakeness going on then, and I see it now. But what actually happened this week is the Trump administration has reported to have quietly been reversing the course on a lot of those revoked visas. So they've given the visas back, or at least they've stopped trying to remove these students. So, and this is like nothing official. This has just been reported by the lawyers, like the immigration lawyers that they were dealing with these cases where their clients that they were representing were getting their visas revoked, and now very quietly it's just dropped. They got it back, no explanation. uh, this almost pisses me off more than actually revoking them, because again, it's this push and pull, right? You have to worry about being taken out of your home. Here they were telling you could do all this, and you don't even have to go to work. You're getting these big stimulus checks. You don't even have to pay your rent. People are fucking squatters. They could live in the apartment downstairs and not leave. And what's the landlord gonna do? That type of a thing. A lot of that was going on during the pandemic, and now all of a sudden, if you make a fucking post against people that are committing an actual genocide, probably uh, an even more disgusting genocide than even the Holocaust itself, and they're supposed to be like America's ally, and it's like well known that these people that the country, that the state of Israel and their ancillary groups are like funding the actual government. They're doing all this stuff, and all of these fucking presidents and senators and anybody who gets into any position of power, they go there and they grovel and they do the whole rituals. I don't have a problem that they're Jewish. I have a problem that they're in the state of Israel, which is a state that their whole thing is racism and just ugliness. It's ugliness. Look, I know what that shit looks like. I've seen all the videos, the gore videos. I know the mindsets of people that just hate humanity or certain aspects of humanity. These are the same kind of people that partake in watching animals be abused, women be abused, like just seeing destruction, like all types of carnage, people being humiliated, all this, the nastiest, dirtiest stuff you could think of. Like that kind of stuff is out there. It's in like the darkest corners of the internet, but it's also forefront, like the nation that's funding the American government. Their basic the spirit behind the whole IDF, their whole foreign policy, is that same spirit. So that's not libel. That's not any kind of uh, you know defamation. I'm just letting you know what I see psychologically, because it's pretty obvious. And I just hate having to fuck around with people and even have the conversation, because it's not like we're not seeing the same. We're not seeing the same. Okay. So these students, maybe they're doing them a favor, right? Because all the student debt and all that. But hey, at least they can get their degree, and get a good job, and they get a nice few loans, get a couple houses in the garage, have a nice family, and then realize they've kind of fucking tied themselves to a sinking ship, right? But it is what it is. The tariffs, they just screw people that are living in the margins. And now I'm going back to this because I'm thinking about who really takes who really is the one who is hurt here in this scenario. And it's the normal people. It's the students that are going to be normal, middle class, productive people. The people who are going to get hit the hardest is the people that are living in the margins, the people who are living check to check, people that can't handle $100 expense. And this is just like relationships again, where if you got sudden changes like that, you have no certainty in what's going to happen the next day. If things change and it used to be all good, and all of a sudden something happened and you don't know who you're living with anymore, then things are never going to go back to the way they used to be. And that's the thing. It's not that easy to just say, okay, you're going to get your visa back, or okay, the tariffs, never mind, the tariffs are gone. And even if you didn't lose a penny, your life has changed. And that's a very important point. People aren't fucking machines. And you can't make somebody fear for their life and they say, just kidding, it doesn't go back to the way it used to be. It's like in mathematics, zero, if you think about the 0 point, it's an arbitrary line. So if you add 5, subtract 90 at 55. It doesn't matter if it's a positive or negative number. Uh, it's still the same idea. So zero is just this arbitrary line. There's really nothing that separates one from negative one any less than there's three and five. Do you know what I'm saying? But in life, it's not like that. In life, you can't just fucking throw an idea out there and then take it away and then say no harm done. No, there was harm done for throwing that bullshit out there. You can throw an idea out there that collapses an entire structure. Because we as human beings, we depend on previously built things. We place value on memory and experiences. And that is why there's such a thing as trauma. Without trauma, we wouldn't have love. And that doesn't go in both directions like a graph where you can throw in all this stuff, uh, throw everybody's future in the question, and then take it away and say we're at net zero. It doesn't work like that. It works in one direction. Like love is a direction tending towards greater individuation and progress of whoever's involved in that. Now, when something happens and you take that away, right? You take that away. There's abuse or there's theft and all this stuff. Um, you don't just pick up where you left off and then keep going up. Like it doesn't go back to the way it was, and that's why after trauma happens, it's much more likely that it'll happen again and again, and these things are going to get triggered because of the things that happen. That's why sometimes you have a relationship, or say you're at a certain job, you do a certain thing, and the same, you have a couple of bad experiences. It may not work out because you're always thinking about if that'll happen again. Like this is what happens. Like some people can get over cheating or something or infidelity in a relationship, but like it happens twice, like that shit's not gonna go back to the way it used to be. It's the same way with an injury. um I had a sprained ankle, I had a back injury. Now every time I would re-aggravate that there's more of a risk to re-aggravate that same injury. That's the real world, and we have that done to us again and again as a people. Like we have these collective traumas again and again and again, and it makes us crippled. It makes us unable to really get shit done. Okay, this is what I wanted to say about the economy. Now, two of these smaller stories that I said I was going to throw in. One is that a study was done this week, has been released in scientific journals, that has to do with linking all of these oil companies, fossil fuel companies, actually linking them to a rise in global temperature. In other words, they've done a study that is supposed to be like proof that they are liable for that. So the idea is that they could be sued or held responsible for it. I did an episode a while back called Debunking Collectivist Pseudoscience. And that was all about climate change attribution. This is what this field is called. This is what this practice is called. It is the practice of attributing climate change, which is usually mostly rising temperatures and also severe weather and things like that. But the increase in temperatures, the greenhouse gases and all, linking them to these actual companies. Of course, it's to me it's pseudoscience because you can even read the beginning. I haven't gone through the whole study, but you read it, and they're proof. They say that there's proof here, and they say because we've ran all these computer simulations and this happened. So, computer simulations are proof now, and this is my point of saying this right after we just talked about the economy, because all of this about uncertainty, we don't fucking know if we can put our money in the bank. We don't know if this phone is going to cost $300 or $3,000 tomorrow. We can't even be sure of that. But they can somehow be fucking sure that ExxonMobil or Aramco, through their drilling and their petrochemical production, caused temperatures to increase over 5 years by 1.4 Celsius or something like that, and they can know that somehow. It's it's just such bullshit propaganda. It's lies, and I'm not standing up for the petrochemical companies. I'm not saying I like them, but this is just wrong. This is just wrong, and if you accept this, um, it's another nail in the coffin. Now, next story, next quick one. A Brinks truck, an armored truck, one of those armored trucks that transport money and stuff, from banks. Uh, the back of this truck. This is in Oak Park. This is in Chicago. This is like 15 minutes away from where I live. The back door opened, and bags of cash fell out while this truck was driving away. They don't know how it happened or what happened, but people started grabbing all the money, and it turns out that $300,000 is missing now. The people just took from bags and ran away. Um, it's kind of a fun story. Uh, it made me think of a few things. So around 2014, 2015, I ran with a few people who were like from the hardcore gang life because that's who I wanted to be like at the time. I was like, I thought that was real cool. Again, this is how I used to deal with my moods, right? Really badly. I don't do this anymore. But this is what I was doing. This is about what, 18? I was about 17, 18 years old. And we were actually planning to rob one of these armored trucks. Like we were going to get together, hit these guys for all that money that they, transport. Um, but our friend who was older, he was, he was the one who had the gun and everything. He actually ended up going to jail, so it never materialized. Um, but anyway, yeah, I don't know if it was ever going to happen, but I'm glad it didn't. I think many of us, though, we see a story like this and we think, sweet, those rich banksters lost their money. Like, yeah, the people got their money. Like, cool. I don't know if everybody thinks that way. I suspect maybe not everybody does, but for me, I see this and I kind of chuckle a bit. But when you really think about this, the money that's in that armored truck, I actually think a lot of that is going to be from mid-level businesses like restaurants, local places, things like that. Even if it's a local Chase bank. The point is, big money making institutions, they don't get hurt by robberies or accidents like this. So anytime you have these robberies happening, anytime we think somebody beat the system or they held up the system for the money, I don't see it that way, because these big money making institutions, it's the society itself that feeds them. So their money is insured. You're not fucking their shit up. So all that would happen is the right deals would get made to have the people work harder anyway to earn that money lost. So in a, I guess, poetic metaphysical sense, these people who are taking this money, I'm not even talking about the people who grab the cash, because that's a different story, but the people who go and like rob banks and rob stores and things like that, who they're really stealing from is like their grandma, their auntie, their mother, their sister. Usually that's what really happens. So the people have to work harder anyway. Inflation and just higher prices and all this. That's the second thing. The third thing I thought of is, I can proudly say that if I was there, I am not touching that fucking money. I would leave the money there. Not because I'm scared of the repercussions, but just because it's not mine. It's a piece of shit on the ground to me. I would not give a fuck. And I wasn't always like this, but I got myself to a place like that, and that I'm proud of. I won't degrade myself and rush like a crackhead to steal a couple $100 bills, some wads of cash, because I only want what I earn from life. And living by principles like that, it's when you get in situations like moods like this, where everything kind of irritates you, those are the things that you keep with you that are actually valuable. Living by principles. Um, Living by principles is not always the fun or comfortable thing to do, but sometimes that is your grounding. That is your rock, your solid ground, when everything seems to be going like this, like a roller coaster. Um, but there's another sad part of this, and that is that the lifestyle that those poor people live. Because I know Austin and Jackson. Like I haven't really mentioned what type of a neighborhood that is. You know, it's like a 90% African American. You know, this is a black neighborhood, um, which means not that every black neighborhood is poor, but this one is. It's There are nice houses and everything. It's not the ghetto, but so you know, a lot of people are working hard to keep up those nice houses, and you can have nice lawns, but it's just a poor area, and the lifestyles of poor people is gonna cause them to give all that money, no matter what money they get, they're gonna give it right back to the rich, because it's the mentality, it's the money making mentality, and I've been there, I done it. I blew $100,000 in like 6 months before in my life, and that's just how it goes. So it's not really a Robin Hood story at all, but it's interesting to talk about. Now, our final story, we're going to talk about um, Virginia Giuffre's suicide. What is called a suicide. Now, the point is she's not with us anymore, and this was reported that on April 25th, she died. Now, Virginia Giuffre, if you don't know, she was trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew. She was one of the Prince Andrew accusers, accusing Prince Andrew, of course, from the royal family, of having sex with her when she was underage, and all this stuff with sexual exploitation by these rich men. Jeffrey Epstein, who of course also allegedly died by suicide. I don't think anybody. It's not the point. The point is, you know, these are your shady fucking elite pedophile structures, and I would say Epstein is a pat. He's that's very low level in what goes on. You know, like 17, 16-year-old girls. That's terrible, and it's not to take away from what Virginia Giuffre has. She campaigned about it. She never got shut up. She never stopped speaking out about it. She was in court cases to the end. They actually had a settlement in 2022 with Prince Andrew. She made allegations against all these people. The one that stands out is Alan Dershowitz to me. So this is my love and respect goes out to Virginia, and whether it is suicide or not, like she was in a war, and she was killed fighting the war. That's what happened. She died fighting the war for justice in this world. So Virginia Giuffre, she used to actually work. She used to work at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago, where Donald Trump lives. She used to work there, right? This young, girl, and that's where she actually met Ghislaine Maxwell. You know Ghislaine Maxwell, of course, the wife of Jeffrey Epstein, who is currently in prison. Well, Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison for 20 years for facilitating a child trafficking ring. Okay, this is confirmed. This shit is confirmed. Um, and they actually met there. So Donald Trump was around there. Not saying he's, this just happened at the place that he lives. It's not really to implicate him. It's not the point. The point is they run in these fucking circles. So it blows my mind that people don't put two and two together, like with Trump and Israel and Epstein and all the bullshit that goes on. Anyway, about Virginia, there are a few things I want to talk about. A story came out actually a few weeks ago, I believe, that she was hit by a bus. Like this suicide didn't just happen out of nowhere. She was in a serious accident, and it was reported a few weeks ago that she said that she only had a few days to live. And there was this picture of her that is, you could see. I'm not going to post a picture, but you could find it. Just like the video of the people that were run over, and the whole crowd all screaming and crying in Vancouver, you could find that easily. I'm not going to show it. I'm not going to show this. But she just looks very bruised and lifeless. It's a really interesting picture. because it looks terrible. But at the same time, she's positioned in a way like she's not wearing a hospital gown, even though there is a hospital bed in the background. So the way she is laying there, and she has her hair like styled a certain way and clean. You see like a strap here, like it's like a nightgown. It's not like a hospital gown, and she's wearing a necklace. She's not. It's not typically what you would see. I see like this. It's very strange. Depending on how you see it, you could say it's actually inspiring, and it's like a defying last photo to take, because apparently this was in an Instagram post that she made, that the doctors have said that she has kidney failure and she's going to be dead in a few days, and she was just making this final Instagram post, and that was a few weeks ago. um, Now if that is true, then that is awesome to take like a nice defiant last photo to look good, um, to not look defeated, because she looked battered and bruised, but she didn't look defeated. It's a respectable photo. Now that's one way to see it. The other way to see it, because all we know is that this was posted from her Instagram account. We don't know if she took the photo. We don't know if she wrote that, right? So because she's making she's like a public, she's the most vocal public accuser of Prince Andrew of the royal family. So like these are the type of people that you expect conspiracy, you expect them to be killed, you expect all kinds of shit to happen to them, okay? This is like blatant. We should all understand this. So we don't know what happened. Um, so that's what I mean with the two ways I see this photo. One is that, and the other way that I really think is more plausible is that this photo is a mockery, actually. It's very symbolic. Now, the official cause of death is suicide. Her family posted that. Said that she was struggling, she was fighting, and unfortunately she took her life. I'm not taking that at face value. Now, I haven't reached out to her family, nor will I. I'm not going to. But I don't trust that either. So I send my love and respect to Virginia, but I am going to discuss that last photo, because the other perspective is that this photo is like a last laugh and a mockery of her by the same group of people that she accused, that she fought and campaigned against. Remember, her whole thing was that she came from and survived sexual abuse, human trafficking. And now they got this photo where she looks like she's close to dying, but she also looks appealing, like. And this is a disturbing trend that has been pointed out, not by me, but by other researchers, most specifically Michael Tessarion. Shout out to Michael Tessarion. And he has talked about all of these women, this phenomenon in Hollywood of depicting women like being lifeless. They're dead, or they're in these positions like their limbs are all twisted and there's red everywhere. And it's supposed to be like art, but it really seems to be like an obsession with death, specifically with women. And there's so much of that. It's actually pretty extensive, but this is what really popped into my head, is that they they silenced her and then made her look like that as her last photo, which is, I almost think, a way to say you spoke out about this. You spoke out about all the way you were trafficked, and the way all these men just used her for her body and all this stuff. And now when they killed her, they basically, that's the last way the world will see them. It's like they're still using her for her image. Do you know what I mean? That's how I see it. A couple things now. This accident with the bus, it was March 24th. It was 3 days after the vernal equinox, right? The first day of spring. We know about that day and the kind of events that happen around those times. She was hit by a school bus. A school bus crashed into her car, and the symbolism, it's like painfully ironic to me, because think about what a school bus is. It's like a big box that is taking children from one place to another. Like, and you think about trafficking. You think about like the school bus in traffic. Trafficking means like, traffic, like taking them, like taking passengers from one place to another. So I think about child trafficking, and that's what a school bus represents to me. Not we're not even talking about the whole aspect of school and how fucked up the public school is in general, but actually we are talking about that, because school is human trafficking. School is human trafficking, not that it's specifically for sexual abuse, but it is human trafficking. It's taking them away from their parents, and they become wards of the state, really. I think about the graduation caps and a traffic cone. Like, you think about trafficking them, and from the circle, squaring the circle, right? You start out with the traffic cone, and then it gets squared. The SC, SQ. If you think about the word school, escuela, shkola, it's all square. It's all about squaring the people. So I see the symbolism there. Of course, this happened to Virginia. She was molested as a child, right? So from young, this happens. These traumatic things happen to these kids, and they end up in these environments where they're taken. A lot of these parents, they actually direct their children into these um, circles, whether they're elite billionaire pedophiles or they're small time pedophiles or it's crime rings, and then they get money, and they get things. A lot of these children that are trafficked, their first pimp is their fucking parents, their dads and moms. The shit is just abhorrent, and it's all the time. Okay. Um, and you could get lost in it. I could lose my mind in it and make my show every week about this, but I won't. Now, another twist in the story is that actually the police, this is in Western Australia. Okay, Virginia was in Australia at the time, and the Australian police are actually disputing the severity of her injuries. They said that, yeah, a bus was reported to have crashed into this vehicle, but there were no injuries. So there's another subsection of people that is actually saying that Virginia actually staged this whole thing, that she actually wasn't dying, and then she was using that for kind of publicity and all this stuff. And that's what happens to people who speak out about pedophilia, child abuse, and all this stuff. And let me tell you something. Let me fucking tell you something. I am so fucking tired of people coming forward about being abused as children, and everybody thinks they're nuts. They think that the people that they're implicating wouldn't do it. They think that the kids are crazy, and the people like Virginia and like that. The first thing everybody always thinks of is like, ooh, do they have a mental illness thing going on? Like, clearly she's been through a lot. Is she in the right mind? People think they're making it up, and they're not fucking making it up. It's like, think about how, like, what kind of, who really wants to go through that? Now we know we have a bunch of like false rape allegations with these athletes, with these women that are trying to get a quick settlement. There's a big difference between that and these people that are coming forward, and they're saying like Prince Andrew did this. They're saying the Pope did this to them. They're saying JFK did this to them. Obviously the world's going to think they're nuts. How do they benefit from that? Whatever settlement they get, however much money it is, their lives are never going to be the same, and it's clear that they've been through a lot, but nobody believes them. So I'm just going to throw out a couple names, okay? A couple of names that you should get in touch with this whole thing about, because SRA survivors, not just child abuse and pedophilia, but satanic ritual abuse, which everybody thinks is like on the mainstream, that's a conspiracy theory, but there's so fucking much about it. You got people that are like alive doing shows all the time and are telling you about it, and they can implicate people. They've seen them. They can tie them. They even have physical evidence, and people still don't believe them. Bryce Taylor, Kathy O'Brien, Jay Parker, uh, a Dutch woman, Tos Nijenhuis. I don't know how to say her name. Her first name is Toos. Her last name is Nijenhus. There's a testimony on YouTube. It's not easy to find because the people that are doing these interviews with these people, they are demonized just as well, just like the survivors. And I'm talking about Kevin Annett. Shout out, salute to Kevin Annett, a lifelong warrior and activist for this, who did the interview with her and many other people. He did the documentary called Unrepentant about Canada's residential schools and the genocide there. Queen, implicating Queen Beatrix and the Anglican Church and the royal family there that were actually killing children. Very compelling evidence there. The indigenous population that we're talking about, how the children were basically being killed in these schools. They were supposed to be converting the natives, those church schools in Canada, and then John Wedger, the former detective that does all these interviews with a lot of these survivors. He's been demonized as well, and then other people. So many more people. But instead, nobody listens to those people. Instead, we have hero worship, right? People just can't help but listen to people who seem untainted, because it's apparently more credible to be shameless, faultless, guiltless, to be nice and squeaky clean, and that's who people listen to, even if they're full of shit. People would rather be somebody be full of shit, but at least they pretend like they're squeaky clean, because that makes them feel good to watch it. So they'll be getting smacked in the face by the fakeness of it all, but still that's what they spend their time on. And people are not comfortable spending their time listening to somebody who shows scars. Okay, somebody who's talking about the real shit. And I really shouldn't be making a big deal about it, because I know this is the path that I chose. I knew that I didn't want the mainstream approval. I didn't want to fall in line. So I knew what I was getting into, and that's how I've always been in life, okay? I'm not just making like a big sacrifice to stand up for the kids. Like, I'm living in accordance with who I've always been. So I was always with the alienated, the ostracized, like fringes of society, you know? This is who I was hanging around. So I got nobody to blame for my bitterness but myself. But still, it's a fucking disgrace what human beings act like. Most human beings are a fucking disgrace. I'm in a city where people are gonna stroll into a 4-lane street, and then they're gonna throw their hands in the air like a fucking baby and throw a temper tantrum because they think that all cars should stop for them. A city where the hardest workers are the most oppressed. And then there are a bunch of people that have nothing to lose. They're living on the street, or they don't give a fuck about anything. They live off welfare, or they don't live off welfare, whatever. The people who got nothing to lose, they don't work, they don't care. They can destroy that hardworking person's life. It's that thing. You choose to, fuck it. They'll grab a brick and fucking throw it through your window. And what are you supposed to do now? Can you handle $200 to repair the windshield? Because a lot of us can't. And those are the people at the bottom. Now the people above them, they just exploit the fucking workers, and they could just buy the law. They could just buy the law, and they live comfortably. They get everything they want. They get everything they want. Especially because I'm also in a city where women love statism, and they love the status quo. So they love the button-up guy. They love the guy that went to college. Doesn't matter who he is. It's not about personality. It just makes them feel comfortable about what they're doing in life, like they're winning, And not to blame the women, because the men are actually such bitches that they play along with the game, and they end up playing the women correct because they go for it. And that also goes for the men who are better, like who are productive, the men who are intelligent and competent, like the people that that I even would look up to in certain ways. You too. I think you're a fucking disgrace too, because you just forged your path, and stay quiet and comfortable, and you get your little, comfortable life when you know this world is fucked. So my question is, what are you really doing for your children? That's my question to you. And I don't really know what the answer is for most of you, because I'm from a generation where by the time women figure out what matters to them in life, they're damn near too old to have children. So I don't know. Yeah. So I wonder, is social media like really that powerful? Is social influence really that strong these days? Because the threat of arrest or death is not really all that high. We're not really in a dangerous society yet. So I really think the answer is that I'm just surrounded by degeneracy of character and intellectual incompetence. People don't see outside of this, they just see tunnel vision. And life is speeding the fuck by. I think everybody's getting old, real fucking quick. And the way we live, they're leaving less and less of a lasting impression. You're gonna be gone soon. I'm gonna be gone soon. Everybody's gonna be gone soon. Our generation, and then when you are, the only question that ever matters is going to be, what the fuck have you done? That's it. Thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed. I don't see how, but I hope you have. And I'll see you next week on This Week in Tyranny.